Okay, this was not the video I wanted to do today. What is going on, guys? Cloud Plays here, and welcome back to another video here on the channel. And today, we're trying to get into Suicide Squad to kill the Justice League. Although this is not going to be the video that I wanted to do today, we can somehow blend it in, because I was going to go into the end game and go through the entire mechanic point for it for you, and let you know whether it was actually worth it after you got through the 10 hours of storyline, which, as much as I enjoyed it, I hear a lot of people didn't, but it was literally 10 hours worth of play, so for $100 it was a little bit of a shame. While we wait for the screen to do something different my end, there you go, there's some gameplay that you never asked for. While we sit on this blank screen of nothingness, if you haven't already, hit that beautiful blue thumbs up and subscribe with post notifications turned on, and make sure you check out our sponsor, Advanced GG, the #1 clinically proven energy supplement on the market. My favourite flavour is cherry vanilla, but you guys can catch an array of flavours via the link in the description. Use code CLOUD at checkout, and with that being said, we can talk about Suicide Squad, because I can't play it again for the third time since early access launch. So for those of you guys who don't know, the original title for this that releases in about an hour allegedly was actually $70 or 70 Great British Pounds, depending on where you obviously are. And for those of you guys who got the 72-hour early access, it was at £30 more, at £100 or $100 in your representative state. And within those 72 hours, you didn't get 72 hours. As far as I'm aware, or at least what I've experienced, is this the third time that this bloody game has gone down. You cannot access it. It does absolutely nothing, and I'm waiting for the screen to do something different. But irrelevant to it, this is so disappointing. I was going to jump in and record some endgame gameplay, because I did forget to record it while I was doing it earlier on, and it just was a little bit tepid. I quite enjoyed the storyline, although I'm not a ginormous DC fan. For those of you guys who love the Arkham series and love DC as an overall, you would have definitely been disappointed with the disrespect that was there for Batman versus the ultimate love and joy that was there for Wonder Woman. Really weird concept, but irrelevant to it. The storyline was okay-ish, and the gameplay, for the most part, throughout the first 10 hours, which is why I actually think the storyline was so short, was actually quite enjoyable. Although, once we get through to the end game, we start to see a really weird consensus. So, throughout the entire game, all you essentially are doing is fighting off hordes of enemies. You are moving trucks and helping them get to certain locations. You are finding people who have not been transformed into purple animal zombie things, and you are saving them and then taking them to the toy man's or toy kid, his truck, saving them in their dependent area, and that's pretty much about it, bar the boss fights in between, where you are actually going in and taking out the Green Lantern, the Flash, Batman and Superman, and they were probably my more favourite parts of content, and I really enjoyed it. And yeah, okay, we took Brainiac out in the end, although we didn't take Brainiac out in the end, because apparently there's 13 versions of him, and the one that we took out was just a reskin of the Flash. So that's a thing, although reskin is something I'm finding quite repetitive in here itself. This is something which is where the end game kind of fails me. I quite enjoyed the game, and I have been quite openly positive about the game, and I had a lot of fun within the story, although the end game is essentially, if you take the side missions, you put them into the Elseworld, and then you just level them up. Yeah, that's pretty much what the end game is, which for me was extremely disappointing, considering I've been into looter shooters now for a decade at least. I've absolutely loved looter shooters, started off in Destiny, and this was disappointing. I really don't understand the movement for it. It's quite enjoyable for the first 10 hours where the storyline is and where it ends, and then it takes you into the end game where you're quite bored of taking out the same enemies in the same way, in the same repetitive activity listing, and then it just falls flat. And I didn't quite notice it throughout the entire game, because I did quite enjoy the playstyle and everything in Told, but actually the weapons system and the quote-unquote build mechanics just don't really sit there either. As I was kind of like focusing solely on the story, it did kind of keep me a little bit headlocked on the space. Although once we went through to endgame, or if you guys are freaking like me right now and black screening, we're going to check Twitter really quickly just before launch for a day one patch or something, maybe. Okie dokie, no tweets there. The irony. Here's a link to report a bug or submit a ticket. Know what I'm doing after this recording. But nonetheless, this was extremely disappointing for me, and I really didn't quite understand why that was the case. With around 7 years in development, I believe it was, this game had so much potential for looter shooter genre, and I know they're stepping into something completely different. The Arkham series was absolutely incredible, and actually looking back at it, it was steps a lot further than where this game is right now, and that's absolutely fine, and I think that that's something which we can kind of learn to accept. I'm not too sure why that's the case, or how it's a notion where they took steps backwards, but this is something that we kind of know was going to happen, especially in the most recent climate of gaming. But for me, this endgame isn't really endgame. I think other looter shooters have gone to the looter shooter graveyard for less. When we look at Anthem, or we look at Outriders had a very weird concept of how they actually panned their endgame, but at least it was an endgame. I'm not trying to be horrible here because I've been really positive about the game, but this is an endgame. These are side missions with a equalizer content that you can kind of boost up in level to be able to get some more resources, and even then you can't just jump into the end game. You have to get this currency that allows you to go into the end game. So to be able to get that currency, you have to complete side missions which are exactly the same as the end game, just with less loot, and it's just it's baffling to me, actually. I'm not going to lie to you, I was a little bit disappointed, and I know I keep repeating myself right here, but this is just not endgame material. I feel like they've kind of entered a genre with no idea of what they were really doing, and I don't really know how this is going to go stepping forward, mainly because for somebody who enjoyed the game and enjoyed the title and still cannot get into this freaking game, I may add, 15 minutes later, the endgame hasn't really met the mark for me. Now, I am going to pursue a little bit further just in case I'm missing something, and at the moment, let's be real, there's not many other games out there at the moment, and that seems to be a bit of a problem within the gaming scene anyway. So I will pursue this further, and we'll continue to grind through and see what happens, if it'll ever let me on. But realistically, I don't see this going much further than where I'm actually at right now. We're just repeating the same things. We're going into the Elseworld, and we are traversing through the map to get to a certain location, maybe taking out a couple of purple stones to get an activator, which we're then going to have to destroy. We do that 2 or 3 times, and then get to the end whilst being hoarded by a load of enemies, and then that's it. And I don't really understand it. The loot is underwhelming. I haven't really bothered with looking at any of the statistics, and it's made no difference to my build. I can still run around and do what the hell I want, no matter what I'm really wearing. If I get something new, I can put it on and it makes no difference. So I'm a little bit concerned with where this is going to go, and hopefully they make a difference when it comes into Season 1, which is coming in March, so about a month away from now, and that's an interesting factor on its own. So if you're in for a game that is just a fun storyline, if you can get into it, just a fun storyline and not really much more else after that, then go for it. If you're a massive DC fan and you've got ultimately a lot of respect for the DC characters as far as superheroes go, this probably isn't going to be for you, as well, as I'm aware fully that this has definitely peeved off a lot of people. I don't really know where the future of this is going to be, which is really difficult for me to say because I've had so much fun with this. Check out the channel. There are videos upon videos upon videos of me talking positively and my enjoyment process inside of the game. But we're at where we're at. I have not managed to get in 20 minutes into this video recording. Still on black screen. Fortunately, that's all we've got time for today. If we manage to grind through some of the endgame content tonight, I will keep you updated with the video tomorrow if it changes, but I'm just not too sure it will. Thanks again for watching, guys. Appreciate all your faces. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, and hit me with a little black box emoji in the comment section if you managed to get this far, because I'm getting so used to seeing them right now, I may as well have a few more in my life. Thanks again, appreciate you all, and I'll see you in the clouds.